The sound of shattering glass is what pulled me from my sleep, not a gentle tinkle but a violent crash that tore through the quiet of my small house. My heart instantly tried to beat its way out of my chest. I'm a 68-year-old man living alone on the edge of a quiet forest. Noise like that only means one thing: trouble. I grabbed the old baseball bat from beside my bed, my hands shaking so hard I could barely grip it. I crept down the hallway, my breath held tight in my throat. The living room was a wreck. The front window was completely smashed, and there in the middle of my rug, surrounded by glittering shards, was a wicker basket. It was wrapped in a thick, dark blanket, and it was moving. A tiny, muffled sound came from inside, a whimper. "Please no," I whispered into the dark, empty room. "Please don't let this be what I think it is." My name is Walter, but my friends call me Walt. I've lived in this little house for 40 years, ever since my wife Alina and I built it with our own hands. After she passed, the silence moved in. It's just me and the memories now. That night the crash was the loudest sound these walls had heard in a decade. I stood frozen, staring at the basket. It was just sitting there, a strange, quiet island in the middle of the chaos. I took a step closer, my bare feet careful on the glass-strewn floor. The whimpering got a little louder. It was a sad, scared sound. I knelt down, my old knees popping in protest. With a trembling hand, I reached out and slowly pulled back a corner of the blanket. What I saw inside made the air leave my lungs. It was a baby, a tiny, perfect baby with a mess of dark hair and eyes wide with fear. It was wrapped in a pink sleeper and it looked up at me, its little mouth trembling. Tucked beside it was a simple handwritten note. It read, "Her name is Rose. Please keep her safe from them." My mind was racing. Who would do this? Who were them? I looked out through the broken window into the pitch-black night. I saw nothing but the shadows of the tall pine trees. No car speeding away, no footsteps, just silence. It was like a ghost had delivered this child. I knew I couldn't just stand there. The baby Rose started to cry in earnest, a fragile, hiccuping sound. I carefully lifted her out of the basket, holding her close to my chest. She was so light, so unbelievably small. I hadn't held a baby since my own grandson was born 20 years ago. The feeling came rushing back, the need to protect, to soothe. "SHHH, little one," I murmured, my voice rough with sleep and shock. "You're safe now, old Walt has got you." I carried her into the kitchen, away from the broken glass. I called 911, my voice shaking as I explained to the operator that I'd just found a baby in my living room. While we waited, I warmed a little milk and fed her with a dropper I found in an old first aid kit. She drank greedily, her tiny hands clutching at my finger. The police arrived with flashing lights that painted my quiet home in streaks of blue and red. Two officers, a young man and a woman, filled out reports. They took the note as evidence. They asked me the same questions over and over. "Did you see anyone? Do you have any enemies, Mr. Grady?" I had no answers. My life was simple, predictable. I had no enemies. The social worker arrived next. Her name was Patricia, and she had a kind but tired face. She explained that Rose would have to go into emergency foster care while they searched for her family. "No," I heard myself say. The word was out of my mouth before I even thought about it. "She can stay with me." Patricia gave me a sad smile. "I'm sorry, Mr. Grady, you're not a certified foster parent. There are procedures. It's for her safety." My heart sank as she carefully took Rose from my arms. The baby started to cry again, and the sound felt like a physical pain in my chest. I watched them drive away, feeling a loss so deep it surprised me. The next few days were a blur. The police found nothing. No fingerprints, no witnesses. It was a dead end. My house felt emptier than ever, the silence now a heavy, aching thing. I couldn't stop thinking about Rose, about the fear in that note. Keep her safe from them. Who were they? What danger was she in? I went to the child services office. I sat across from Patricia and pleaded my case. "I'm a stable, retired man. My house is safe. I have so much love to give." She handed me a stack of papers. "If you're serious, Mr. Grady, this is what you need to do." It was a mountain of forms, background checks, home inspections, parenting classes. At my age, it felt overwhelming. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw Rose's face. I started the process. I filled out every form. I childproofed my entire house, putting locks on cabinets and covers on outlets. It felt strange, preparing a home for a baby again after all these years. A week later, my phone rang. It was Detective Harris, the officer who had taken my report. "Mr. Grady, we found something. We ran a check on the basket and the blanket. They're from a high-end store in the city about 2 hours from you. We're looking into recent purchases, but it's a long shot." It was something, a thread to pull, but it also made the mystery deeper. Why would someone with money abandon a baby in a remote house? It didn't make sense. Meanwhile, I was allowed my first supervised visit with Rose. I went to the foster family's home. When I held her, she looked at me with those big, serious eyes, and then she smiled. A real, gummy smile. It felt like the sun had come out after a long, cold winter. In that moment, any doubt I had vanished. I was going to fight for this little girl. She was a gift left in the wreckage, and I was going to be her guardian. The investigation into them hit a wall. The store had no useful records. The note yielded no fingerprints. It was as if Rose had simply appeared from nowhere. My focus shifted entirely to the custody battle. I attended the parenting classes with a bunch of young couples. They looked at me with curiosity, but I didn't care. I learned about newfangled things like tummy time and attachment parenting. I aced my home inspection, even though the social worker frowned at my steep staircase. "You'll need a safety gate here, Mr. Grady," she said, making a note on her clipboard. I bought one that same afternoon. Every step was for Rose. I was building a case not just for the court but for myself. I was proving that an old man still had a purpose. Then a break. A woman from a town 30 miles away saw the news report about the forest baby. She called the police tip line. She said her niece, a young woman named Chloe, had a baby girl named Rose. Chloe had been terrified of her ex-boyfriend, a man with a violent temper. She was hiding from him. The police tracked down Chloe's last known address. It was empty, but a neighbor said she'd seen a fancy black car lurking around the week before. The pieces were starting to fit together. THEM were real. Rose's mother was trying to protect her, and in her desperation, she chose my house, my broken window, as the safest place she could think of. The thought was both terrifying and humbling. The court date arrived. I wore my best suit, the one I'd worn to Leaner's funeral. It felt like a lifetime ago. I sat in the quiet courtroom, my hands clasped tightly in my lap. The judge listened as the social worker presented my case. She talked about my stability, my completed classes, my safe home. Then she talked about the ongoing investigation, the danger to Rose. The judge, a serious woman with sharp eyes, looked at me. "Mr. Grady, this is a highly unusual situation. Why, at your stage in life, would you want to take on the immense responsibility of an infant?" I took a deep breath. "Your Honor," I said, my voice clear and steady, "a window can be fixed, but a life is precious. She was brought to me for a reason. I have love, I have a safe home, and I have the will to protect her with everything I have left." The judge's decision felt like it took 1,000 years. She looked from the paperwork to me and then she spoke. "Temporary custody is granted to Walter Grady for a period of 6 months pending further review." I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Tears welled in my eyes. It wasn't over, but it was a start. I was going to get to bring Rose home. When I arrived at the foster home to pick her up, Patricia was there with a small bag of Rose's things. She handed her to me. "Take good care of her, Walt," she said, and for the first time she smiled, a genuine, warm smile. "I will," I promised, holding Rose close. "I will protect her with my whole heart." The first night Rose was home was the best and scariest of my life. I set up the bassinet next to my bed. Every little snuffle and sigh she made had me bolting upright, checking on her. She woke up every 3 hours, and I would stumble into the kitchen to warm a bottle, singing old songs my mother used to sing to me. I was exhausted, but it was a happy tiredness. The house was no longer quiet. It was filled with the sounds of life, gurgles, coos, and sometimes loud, indignant cries. I didn't mind any of it. The broken window was boarded up, soon to be replaced. But the hole it had left in my life had been filled with something more beautiful than I could have ever imagined. Weeks turned into months. Rose grew stronger. She learned to roll over then to sit up. Her dark hair grew longer and her giggles became the best sound in the world. The police investigation continued, but they never found Chloe or the dangerous ex-boyfriend. It was as if they had vanished. Part of me was relieved. It meant Rose was safe with me, but another part ached for her mother, for the desperate act of love that had brought this child to my doorstep. I started a photo album for Rose. On the first page, I put a picture of the two of us on the day she came home, and I wrote, "For Rose, your story has a scary beginning, but I promise you the rest will be filled with love." The 6-month review came quickly. The social worker visited and saw a happy, healthy baby who was clearly attached to me. She saw a clean, safe home full of toys and books. She wrote a glowing report. The judge made the custody permanent. Rose was officially mine to raise. That night I sat in my rocking chair, holding her as she slept. I looked out the new, strong window I had installed. The forest was dark and peaceful. I thought about the crashing glass, the fear, the confusion. It had been a night of terror, but it had brought me my greatest joy. Sometimes life doesn't give you a gentle nudge. It throws a brick through your window, and sometimes that brick is wrapped in a blanket and has a name like Rose. As Rose grew into a toddler, her personality blossomed. She was curious and fearless, always pulling herself up on the furniture, determined to walk. I was there to catch her every time she fell. Our life settled into a beautiful, chaotic routine. We spent our days in the garden where I would point out birds and butterflies and she would babble back at them. Neighbors who had once just waved now stopped by with handmade clothes and offers to babysit. Rose had not just saved me, she had connected me to my community again. I knew the mystery of her past might one day need to be addressed, but for now, our present was all that mattered. It was full, it was loud, and it was perfect. On Rose's second birthday, we had a small party in the backyard. I blew up balloons and baked a lopsided cake. As she clapped her flower-covered hands and laughed, I felt a profound sense of peace. The memory of that lonely, silent house was like a faded photograph. This, the laughter, the mess, the love, this was real. I had spent so many years looking backward, mourning what I had lost. Rose taught me to look forward to the future, to all the possibilities that were still ahead. She was my second chance. She was the light that came crashing into my darkness, quite literally. I often think about Chloe, Rose's mother. I don't know her story, but I am grateful to her. In her moment of absolute terror, she made a choice. She saw my simple, sturdy house in the woods and thought, there, my daughter will be safe there. I hope wherever she has found some peace. I hope she knows that her daughter is loved beyond measure, that she is smart and kind, that she calls me Papa. I will make sure Rose always knows that her first mother loved her enough to let her go, to give her a fighting chance. It's a complicated part of her story, but it's a part filled with courage. The days are long, but the years are short. Rose started preschool. She brings home paintings of our house and the tall trees, always with a giant yellow sun in the corner. She has friends, she has a life, and I am right in the middle of it all. My back aches sometimes from picking her up, and I need an afternoon nap more than she does, but I wouldn't trade a single second. This wasn't the retirement I had planned. It's louder, messier, and infinitely better. It's a life of purpose. It's a life of love, a love that was delivered in the middle of the night, wrapped in a mystery and left in a basket among the broken glass. If you're listening to this, maybe you're facing your own broken window. Maybe your life has been suddenly, violently interrupted by something you never saw coming. It might be scary, it might be confusing. You might feel too old, too tired, too broken to deal with it. But I'm here to tell you, sometimes the most beautiful gifts come in the most frightening packages. Don't be afraid to open the basket. Don't be afraid to pick up the pieces and build something new. You might just find your purpose waiting for you inside. You might just find your Rose. My story isn't about being a hero, it's about being open. It's about saying yes when every logical part of you is screaming no. It's about love showing up unannounced and uninvited, and you making the choice to let it stay. For all of you who have supported Anon Voices, thank you. Your kindness allows me to share stories like mine. If this story touched your heart, let me know in the comments what city you're listening from. And if you want to make sure you never miss a life story, you have to subscribe to the channel. It's the best way to follow along. If you'd like to support the channel further, you can send a super thanks. It helps more than you know. There are more life stories on the screen that I know you'll love. Don't forget to subscribe. With love and respect, this is Walt signing off for now.